49ers put on the pads in day 5 of training camp. That means competition and business is about to pick up. Lots of new notes and news coming out of Santa Clara, day 5 of training camp in the books. All that and more in this episode of 49ers Cutback.
From the alley-oops at Keysar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. What a great time. 49ers players are putting on pads, which means we're moving through training camp expeditiously. This is exactly what you want to see. And I know there's a lot of hype surrounding pads, and the players feel a little bit. The coaches start to change their evaluation process a little bit. And the real truth is the 49ers are just continuing the same install as far as offense and defense that they've been doing. They're going through and just getting new parts of their offense implemented. Now, of course, for some of the veterans, they know all the offense. Some of the defense, they know all the defense. But for the younger guys, this could be their first opportunity to go through the process of. So they're going through stage by stage by stage. Pads doesn't change the fact that you're going down a steady stream of getting this offense implemented and getting players acclimated to what they're expected to do. You start adding in motions. You start adding in other plays. You do inside zone, outside zone. You start throwing in play action, and then you work on your short passing game, your mid-range, your deep. There's a lot of things that go into this, and each team will implement their offense different ways, but the structure is exactly what you want to have. So some days you're going to have days where the offense looks really good against the defense, and then you're going to have some days where the offense doesn't look as good. And of course, with pads being on, people are going to start taking into account what happens when it comes to sacks, what happens when it comes to the amount of yards you get in the run. And that's always interesting and a little bit of a dangerous process. But you can get a clear picture on how a guy is doing as far as pass rush by how consistently he's getting to the quarterback, or how well a running back's running by when he hits the hole. How does he do? Would he get vertical immediately when he's supposed to, or is he doing it wrong? There's a lot of cool things that go in with this, and Kyle Shanahan said straight up, this is when the evaluation process really starts. The key is you can't get too much caught up on the ebbs and flows. One day a guy's going to not look good, and the next day he's going to look fantastic. What you're hoping is that you're going to have some consistency where he just looks good all the time, or he just looks great all the time. Those are things you're working into. But there's a lot of injury conversation that we're going to have to talk. We got some clarity about a guy like Drake Jackson and Isaac Guerendo. But also, we got to go through what happened at practice, where we're moving forward, what kind of competitions are being created, because Kyle Shanahan let the cat out of the bag. There's a new competition for the 49ers on offense, and that's pretty cool. And then we've had another young player step up and start making some plays that should get people's attention, because the battles start now. Now competition begins. People get physical at practice, and that means we're going to start seeing one-on-ones. We're going to start seeing competition ratchet up, and they're building for their opportunity to make this football team. 91 players are out there for the 49ers at practice. Only 53 of them are going to make this 49ers roster and be able to help. Of course, 16 roster spots on the practice squad available. So there will be a lot of these guys that contribute. 69 players will contribute to this team throughout the season. But please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online, the game starts here. So let's do the normal figure out who was actually at practice and practicing. And we know that players are going to have vet days, maintenance days. We have some guys who are a little nicked up. Right now, injuries of significance have somewhat been on the back burner. We haven't had anything crazy, but we did have some rest days and vet days coming off the off day. Nick Bosa was there. He was watching practice in street clothes. He did not practice. Same for Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Juszczyk, who both had vet days as well. Signed some autographs for the fans, but took the day off. And then Jake Brendel continued to get another rest day as they're trying to keep his knee and that knee tendonitis from flaring up. So they're being real good about monitoring the usage of their vet players. They have real plans for how they're going to work these guys in and make sure when we get to the second week of September that they are the best possible players they can be and the most healthy they can be. So monitoring these guys is exactly what they're trying to do, and they've been doing a pretty good job with it. Of course, Brandon Ayuk's still holding in. Now, we do know he's going to all the meetings and being a part of everything, but he's holding in. Isaac Guerendo, Kyle Shanahan did confirm today that he had a worse hamstring injury than a guy like Ricky Pearsall or Jacob Cowing, and he's going to be out for several weeks. So this could be a grade 2, grade 3 hamstring injury. The likelihood is he might miss most of the preseason. We'll see what happens with Guerendo. The longer he has to stay out, the more likely the 49ers might redshirt him and shut him down for the season, which is unfortunate. But we'll see. Hopefully he comes back. Hopefully he comes back in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and he's able to get out there and compete with the rest of the team. But it will put him back missing these practices and not getting those key reps. John Feliciano missed again with the knee injury, so he's been out now 3 consecutive practices. Spencer Burford, of course, has the broken hand, and Kyle Shanahan said he's going to see a specialist, and then they will officially decide whether he's going to have surgery or not. So that will be coming in the coming days. We'll find out about Spencer Burford and whether surgery is the answer for him. Jacob Cowing and Tate Martin, we got clarity on now that they had a grade 1 hamstring pull, so theirs not as serious, and they're expected to work back. It's a 7 to 10 day injury. Tate Martin was injured before Jacob Cowing, so Kyle Shanahan said probably sometime next week, and so we'll see. Both of those guys could be coming back, but the 49ers will have to wait and see how both of them respond. But the good news is nothing serious. Probably just overextended themselves a little bit and weren't able to stay healthy. So those are some of the injury concerns that still happen with some of the 49ers key players. But a guy that's came off the NFI is Ricky Pearsall. And Pearsall, a lot of people have been excited. We've heard since Tuesday as training camp, as the players were reporting, Shanahan and John Lynch said, hey, block 2 is probably the likelihood that we could see Ricky Pearsall be available for practice. Pearsall was activated from the NFI today. He did participate in practice today. He did look good at practice today. He did not compete in the team portion, which is 11-on-11 practice. So Kyle Shanahan revealed after practice the reason he didn't. They wanted to get him out there and see how his body responded to playing football again. If he doesn't have any setbacks at all, then tomorrow we will see Ricky Pearsall on the field in all 22, practicing in 11-on-11 drills with the rest of his 49ers teammates. So that's really good news for the 49ers that Pearsall is getting himself available and ready to go. And that's what you're hoping. You're hoping you're going to get all your guys out there so you can see exactly what you have. And for Pearsall, it could be the opportunity that we've been waiting for. Get some time at X, get some time at Z. He's a guy that can play all 3 positions, but also can help on special teams. And we'll talk a little bit about Pearsall and special teams later on. So George Kittle and Charvarius Ward, they participated in individuals, but were kept out of the team drills as well. Both guys were dealing with core muscle injuries last year and had surgery. So 49ers easing them in, I think that's very smart. These are two all-pro players. They know how this game goes. All that does is leave opportunities for other players to make plays, and there were players on both sides at their positions that made plays today with the added opportunity. Now, Drake Jackson, of course, I've been saying here probably for like the last month or so, my expectation is he's going to be on PUP list to start the season. Kyle Shanahan confirmed that today. He didn't say he would be available anytime soon. In fact, he said not during training camp, and this would probably go into the season with an injury like this and a surgery like this. You just don't know for sure the timetable. The likelihood is Drake Jackson will be on PUP list to start the season, which means he won't be available for the first 4 games. And that's not real surprising. And that means they don't have to use a roster spot for Drake Jackson. They'll be able to carry 4 defensive ends without worried about Drake Jackson hitting the roster. So at some point, hopefully during the season, he will get healthy and be able to help this football team. But when you're talking about your 53-man roster at the first part of this season, Drake Jackson will not be on that 53-man roster, and he will not be helping this 49ers football team at the beginning of 2024. So it's one of those things where, do you want that for Drake? No, but this is kind of expected. The surgery didn't look that great. When I seen some of the workouts, it looked like he was not very far along when it came to his recovery. So I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen, and Kyle Shanahan confirmed it. So now that you're in pads, you kind of expect the offensive line to do a little bit better. Jake Brendel mentioned on Saturday that the offensive line playing against pads, now the defense has wearing like a steering wheel. And that's, of course, offensive line talk. That's exactly how I coach my guys as well, was, hey, those pads on the inside, it's like a steering wheel. Grab onto them, and then you kind of steer that way around it. So as long as it's in the framework, it's not considered holding. Those of you guys who haven't really played or haven't been a part of the game that much, that's where every single offensive lineman targets, is they want to get on that inside of the chest plate and where those shoulder pads are, and that's where you get the steering wheel and control, and you're trying to steer your player wherever you want him to go. So you expect pass blocking to get a little bit better over the next several days as the offense acclimates. Now, one thing to remember about the 49ers offensive line right now is there's really only a couple of starters that are consistently playing. But like today, for instance, you had Aaron Banks and you had Colton McKivitz, who are starting offensive linemen that were playing on this offensive line. Rookie Dominic Pooney started at right guard for the 49ers. Ben Bartch started at center because you have Jake Brendel and John Feliciano out. So Bartch getting snaps there with the first team. Also, Nick Zakelj getting first team snaps at center as well. That's the 3rd time this training camp session that Nick Zakelj's gotten first team reps at center. So don't count Zakelj or Bartch out for their potential to make this team. And we'll see. I think Jake Brendel's still sitting in the catbird seat as the number 1 center, but some competition coming his way, definitely. So right now, don't get too concerned if you hear the offensive line isn't looking good. You have 2 starters out there, and you have guys competing. Plus, you're still an install, so you're not running all your different stuff. They will get better. You will hear about the offensive line playing better. But with that being said, the 49ers defensive line is pretty darn good. Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos, they can put pressure on the quarterback, and it doesn't stop with them. Jordan Elliott, and then Kevin Givens bringing some of that pressure as well. So 49ers have the guys on defense to get it done that make it difficult for any offensive line. And then you throw out, a couple backups and a rookie, and it's going to be a little bit tough. This was literally a guy like Pooney's first time as a NFL player in pads. So expect there to be a little bit of a learning curve for this 49ers offensive line. But the running back position, these guys are getting it done. And you've probably heard a lot about Jordan Mason this training camp season. He's looked really good. The improvements in the passing game, being able to catch the football, has been big. Pass protection was a little bit better. Now, this is the time you'll really see when pass protection is better. Now that we've got pads on, and you get into that part where the defense is bringing blitzes, and he steps up and picks someone up, that's what we want to see. That's the last evolution of Jordan Mason being the complete back. And Christian McCaffrey, believes that he is. He said that in his presser last week. But Kyle Shanahan confirmed that there's a competition now going on between Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell. He said, no offense to Elijah, but Jordan Mason's running really, really good right now. And he admitted that Elijah Mitchell's not falling off. He's still that same player. It's just Jordan Mason's elevating his game. So this is becoming a real competition. And the good news for the 49ers, McCaffrey wasn't practicing, but Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell were both making good runs out there. Not surprising. These guys are good running backs. So it looks like right now the 49ers have McCaffrey and then Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell in a battle for running back 2. And then it's kind of a steep fall off there. Garendo injury. Cody Schrader looks pretty good from the snaps that I saw him take. I think that there's still a long way to go for him. Patrick Taylor, the same thing. So I think you've got a couple of guys that are getting it done. But that backup running back spot has become a real battle, which I know is going to make a lot of 49er fans happy. They have been waiting for Jordan Mason's season. Well, let's see what he can do. If it's a competition, it's going to come down to performances in practice, performances in the preseason, and I'm here for it. Let's see what these guys can do. We have offensive linemen that are looking to compete to make this football team, and we got running backs that are looking to make this football team. So, good news for the 49ers when it comes to running back. And here's something you're going to hear a lot about. Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions today in training camp. And depending on what you think about stats, this could either be rather alarming or not alarming at all. And for me, I don't care about interceptions at training camp. I don't even care if it's Joshua Dobbs or Brandon Allen throwing interceptions, because I know that in training camp, you're going to make certain throws you wouldn't normally make to see if you can make those throws. It's one of those things you do as a player. You see what you can get away with. You're trying to allow your players to make plays, and you're trying to fit the ball into some tight windows. Plus, the 49ers were working in the red zone. And when you're working in red zone offense, it's a condensed area. It means defenders don't have to cover as much ground. There's not as much space. So everything's a little tighter. Everything's a little bit more difficult. And if a ball bounces off a hand, it's probably going to be intercepted, which did happen to Brock Purdy. So if that's something that alarms you, you're probably alarmed. If it's something that you're like me and you don't really worry about that kind of stuff, you're not worried about training camp interceptions, and this isn't really a big deal. Brock Purdy, when I've been at training camp, has looked really, really good. So I'm not really concerned. But let's talk about the guys who did make the interceptions and kind of the basis for the interception. So we can reward some good play on defense as well. Deommodore Lenoir made an interception on a ball intended for Braden Willis that went out of his outstretched hands, and Lenoir gets an interception. And this doesn't surprise us about Demo and what he's been able to do. Fred Warner took advantage of a ball off of the hands of Logan Thomas in a tight window. The ball bounced up. Fred Warner comes down with the football, and Fred Warner gets his first interception of training camp. And then George Odom was able to make an interception as well. So these 3 guys get the ball in their hands. And how about that for the 49ers safeties? You've got Malik Mustafa, who started out training camp with an interception. Jair Brown got an interception on Friday. And now you've got an interception by George Odom. 49ers defense continues to get turnovers. You want to see them get their hands on the ball. And so these are some opportunities that players had to go ahead and get it. So Brock Purdy throws interceptions, not real concerned about it. Last year, Brock Purdy threw, I think I saw that he threw 11 interceptions last year in training camp. I wasn't worried about it then. I'm not worried about it now. He went and had an MVP season. So we'll see. I love that Brock Purdy's out there taking chances and trying to get some stuff done. And you're getting some good play from the secondary, which it included Isaac Yedem, who had another really good day. Isaac Yedem is almost so good, you're not really hearing about him enough. So Yedem has been the guy coming in. When you have Tarvarius Ward on the field, Yedem is the third cornerback coming in with Demo moving to nickel. When Tarvarius Ward's not playing, Yedem is manning the outside. And so he's doing a very good job. The 49ers look like they are very comfortable with Isaac Yedem, and he could have a breakout season this year. And, of course, we're going to see. There's a lot that's got to go on. Hopefully, Brandon Ayuk will get out to training camp at some point. They'll work out something, and he'll be able to get out there and test Yedem. I think that would be a lot of fun to see, the length, the size, the strength of Yedem versus Brandon Ayuk's elite route running ability. It could be a lot of fun. So in the red zone, though, Brock didn't just throw interceptions. He also was able to make some completions as well, including a touchdown to Trent Taylor. So that was one of the plays the offense made. It wasn't easy for the offense, even though Joshua Dobbs had another really good practice day. He back-to-back days now. Looks like he's starting to settle in to this 49ers offense and get more comfortable and acclimated. And so Josh Dobbs starting to look like a legitimate quarterback 2 option. Kyle Shanahan said in his presser that Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen are going to continue to get equal snaps and that he expects this thing just to play out and it will reveal itself who quarterback 2 is. So that's good news for the San Francisco 49ers as far as Joshua Dobbs being able to do some things for this football team. Gotta love the athleticism coming from him. So today something interesting happened. Deommodore Lenoir stayed in the nickel with Yedem playing on the outside, and Renardo Green got some playing time as an outside corner. So they're starting to use his versatility. It's been pretty much all predominantly inside at nickel, but now outside with Lenoir going in. So they're giving some interesting looks now where Green is coming in and getting some of those plays. And he made a great play today, going up and knocking a ball out of Jawan Jennings' hands. Not easy to get a ball wrestled away from Jawan Jennings. You have to show some real strength. And he did that in today's practice. So that's good news for the 49ers, where you got a guy stepping up into that cornerback 4 or cornerback 3-4. I think he's 4 right now. Yedem is obviously 3, but really, really good stuff from Isaac Yedem, from Renardo Green, from Deommodore Lenoir. And of course, Mooney Ward just continues to be Mooney Ward. I think when you're looking at behind that, right now there's a competition going for cornerback 5. Darrell Luter Jr., Ambry Thomas, both of them have gotten reps with that next unit. You got Sam Womack, who's had some nice plays. And so it's going to be interesting. I like watching their drills, seeing how they get in and out of their breaks, watching their footwork. They got some pretty good guys with some good footwork. I'm still curious to see if we hear anything about Chase Lucas, who is probably the most undersized of the 49ers cornerbacks, but probably has some of the best footwork of the 49ers cornerbacks. We'll see what he's able to do. We know he's a really good special teams player and should be playing in the nickel. So one thing that we've been continually talking about every single day at practice has been Deebo Samuel. And Deebo Samuel continued the trend today, going out there and looking really good, catching the football, running the ball a little bit, taking a hit from Jair Brown and just bouncing off and getting back up and getting going. So right now, he has been the focal point of the 49ers offense, and a lot of that has to do with the fact he's practicing every single day. McCaffrey's taking days off, of course. Kyle Juszczyk as well. Brandon Ayuk is holding in. So right now, the focal point is Deebo Samuel. I expect Ricky Pearsall to start taking some of the load away from Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy start hooking up with him. But we have some young players that still need to step up at the position and some decisions that need to be made. Ronnie Bell has had a couple plays here and there. Danny Gray, the same thing. I think Gray's looked more explosive, but he definitely hasn't earned the spot outright. Chris Conley still in the battle. He's had a couple good plays. Trent Taylor has been a consummate professional. So this wide receiver 6 battle is still up in the air. And I think some of those guys are going to have to step up, but I expect Ricky Pearsall to start making some plays for the San Francisco 49ers pretty soon. So pretty exciting. Now, I kind of mentioned it that there was a rookie or a young player, not a rookie, a young player that's starting to make a little bit of a move here. It is Cameron Latu. And that might surprise some people. I know a lot of people have given up on Cameron Latu. But this is what I said last year. Last year, he looked like he was completely underwater. He did not understand the offense. He was struggling with the motions, the shifts, the route concepts, like where he was supposed to go. And I talked about how tough of a transition it was to go from playing at Alabama with a very, very simple scheme compared to coming and playing for Kyle Shanahan. This is a guy that didn't play college football at tight end for a long time. He was defensive end at first. So the transition was enough, and then he really struggled. Then you throw in the injury that prevents him from being available for 2023 football season. And so a lot of people were out on Cameron Latu. And I'm not saying he's going to make the team. I don't know that. I just like to see the fact that he's catching the football. He knows where to line up. He knows what he's supposed to do on each play. He no longer looks underwater. And guess what? Cameron Latu has started to make plays in practice. That's good news. Not only was it a catch, but it was yak afterwards as he went over the middle and made a really big play in stride, catching the ball from Brandon Allen. So that was a nice play, something that could see him rolling a little bit. Also, you could go on Twitter and see a really nice, great capture by Steph Sanchez. He grabbed a nice clip of him catching a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. So Cameron Latu went from not catching anything. I know he did catch a couple passes last year in training camp to making some plays, and that's exactly what you want from a young player. Braden Willis has looked good. He's looked really good. Eric Saubert has looked really, really good. And Kyle Shanahan talked a little bit the other day about Logan Thomas is learning this offense and that he's getting more accustomed to the offense. So I think that we still got those four guys in the mix, two veterans, Saubert and Thomas, the two young players, Cameron Latu and Braden Willis, in a real competition to make this 49ers football team. The truth is, not all four are going to make it. The 49ers could keep three. So we'll see what happens, but Latu has to do a lot to get himself on the field and make this team. Now, let's talk about punt, because one of the most interesting things for the 49ers has to be replacing Ray McCloud. You have the veteran in Trent Taylor, and then you have the young players. Ronnie Bell's been trying to be the punt returner. He's struggled since last season, had some more muffs during training camp so far. Trent Taylor's been great. Well, we don't have Jacob Cowing out there right now because he's dealing with a hamstring, but Ricky Pearsall is back. And guess what? Ricky Pearsall looks absolutely fantastic receiving the football. So this is good news for the 49ers. And I've heard, people say, hey, I don't want a rookie receiving punts. And I think that's a legitimate fear. You worry about a rookie making mistakes, but Pearsall played for a long time in college. He's caught a lot of punts. They're not going to put him out there unless they feel comfortable with him. And he's a guy that consistently is able to track the ball, secure the catch, and at least be a solid guy that has the ability to return. So I have faith in Pearsall that he could do this if that's what the 49ers want. So Pearsall joins the mix, competing to be the punt returner. And we'll see if he joins the mix the next time they practice kickoff and kickoff return. I expect that he probably will. When Kyle Shanahan was asked who should be the return guy or what are they looking for with the return guy, he basically said the biggest, fastest, strongest guy that can play like a shortstop and be able to field the football. And so that to me means you don't count out a guy like Deebo Samuel or a guy like Jordan Mason. The only thing about Jordan Mason compared to some of the other guys, I've seen him muff a couple of balls. So we'll see how he handles it, but it's tough because those angled balls in kick return and some of the different lines, the line drives and some of the angles that they're coming from make it a little bit more difficult if you're not a natural receiver of the football. So guys like Danny Gray, Deebo Samuel, they have an advantage as far as catching the football, locating it, and getting on it. So it's going to be interesting to see who the punt return and kick return guys are, and I think those things are still going to play out. And so you're getting these practices that are going to start building, and we're going to hear different performers stepping up every single day and making big plays. The overall sentiment is the 49ers are continuing on offense to build their install. Same with the defense. There's going to be days that the 49ers offense is going to look better than the defense, and the defense is going to look better than the offense. And it's all about the ebbs and flows of training camp. What you're looking for is consistency. Can we get consistency out of players? Can players make big plays more often than they have bad plays? And I think that's what the 49ers are trying to figure out. And of course, we're going to get to see it all when the 49ers get out to their first preseason game on August 10th. So this has been a fun training camp so far, and we're just getting started. More days to come. And you can always find out the 49ers training camp news right here on 49ers Cutback. You're always welcome to join. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on an audio platform, it's 49ers Cutback on Believe. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.